If this looks like my October wrap-up, that's because I just filmed my October wrap-up. The reason I'm filming this now is because I actually filmed the intro to this video yesterday, but I accidentally deleted all of it. So here we are again. Hello! This is potentially, hopefully, a reading vlog for all of Kacen Callender's autobiography. Bibliography? I meant bibliography. The gist is that I am going to attempt to read all of Kacen Callender's books in the month of November. I got this idea when I read all of Rin Chupeco's books in the month of August for Weekathon, and that was really fun just to be able to kind of see the evolution of their works as well as comparing and contrasting their different storytelling styles throughout their different series. So I'm going to do that now with Kacen Callender, most importantly because at the very end of this month I will be participating in the Caffeine Tour's book tour for King of the Rising, and so I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited to get my arc and start reading. But first, I just want to say that I actually have already read one of Kacen Callender's books, and that's, I believe it's called The King and the Dragonflies, or The King of the Dragonflies, something like that. I believe it's a middle grade book, but I read that in audiobook form a couple of months ago, and I actually really enjoyed it. And that kind of was what sparked the idea for this, because I really definitely wanted to read more of their work. So I picked up some of their books. The first book that I bought was The Queen of the Conquered. As I mentioned, I am going to be participating in the book tour for the sequel of this book, so I bought the physical copy. So I can't wait to read this. I hopefully will read this right before The King of the Rising, just so that there's continuity between the two books for me. I also bought their middle grade book, Hurricane Child. I have an audiobook of their other book, which I'm forgetting the name of right now, but I will put a thumbnail somewhere here on the screen if I can remember to. And then currently I'm reading Felix Ever After, which I got from the library. I'm about 100 pages in right now, and the intro is a little tough. Bullying of any sort really makes me sad and breaks my heart. Transphobic bullying and seeing this sort of first-hand account is really tough. But my friend told me that it's going to get better towards the end, so I'm looking forward to that. I really want Felix to have his happily ever after. It's election day currently. My anxiety is kind of through the roof. What I'm going to do today is just take some time to myself to read, relax, do some chores, take care of myself, just so that I don't let my anxiety about this election get the best of me. I hope you guys enjoy. I hope that I remember not to delete this footage this time around. Let's get to reading Kacen Callender's books. So there were just two huge reveals in like the span of a page, and like I saw both of them coming, but also okay, I have to admit it's a little cringy that they were texting for like one night and Declan was like, oh, I'm falling in love with you, like, Hello, it's Wednesday, November 4th. The count's still going. I did end up finishing Felix Ever After because I felt stressed about the situation and I just wanted some sort of escape. I mean, this was still like, there's a lot of discussions in this book that are very heavy and a lot of heart-wrenching stuff that goes on, so it wasn't like a light-hearted, happy read by any means. I mean, the ending was very wonderful, I think. I particularly liked the character Leia, I don't know how to pronounce it. I really liked that she stepped in and was a true ally to Felix. I definitely loved Kacen Callender's voice. I think they put a lot of their own humor into the way that Felix kind of charms everyone. So yeah, that was a lot of joy that I got from this book. If there's clicking in the background, it's because my partner is here. But anyway, it's been about 2 weeks since I checked in for this vlog, and that's because I actually haven't been reading much of Kacen Callender's works in the past couple of weeks. I was in a really bad The Dragon Republic hangover. I'm finally starting to get back into the groove. I bought the audiobook for This Is Kind of an Epic Love Story, and I have about an hour left at the speed I'm listening to. I'm really enjoying it for the most part. It's a story about Nathan Bird, and he's trying to navigate relationships and what happens when a boy you kissed many years ago comes back. And it's a very light and fluffy story for the most part. It does deal with some, to me, annoying high school petty drama, but of course high school petty drama belongs to high school, and I'm glad it's in that setting at least. But I really appreciate the fact that there is absolutely no use of labels in this book. I mean, there's a lot of queer relationships, but not a single character has tried to label themselves or define themselves, because everyone seems to be very fluid and comfortable talking about relationships and sexuality and whatnot. So I really appreciate that. But again, it is a romance, and I'm not really into the whole coveting someone else who's already in a relationship sort of thing. So that part is kind of making it harder for me to enjoy, but it still stands that I really like Kacen Callender's writing. I think that their voice is super strong. And last night actually, I picked up both Hurricane Child and Queen of the Conquered, which is Kacen Callender's adult fantasy debut novel. So these are opposite sides of the spectrum in terms of books that can be written by an author. Oh boy, it's been a while since I've done this. They're especially very different from Felix Ever After, and This Is Kind of an Epic Love Story, so I'm really interested to see how their very unique voice kind of adapts into these different genres, especially the middle grade one, because writing middle grade actually poses a lot of different challenges. It's not, just writing a children's book. Hopefully this week I just read their books and have some fun with it. I'm sorry that there's no check-ins. Hi, it's Thursday, November 26th, the Thanksgiving holiday in the United States. I thought it would be good to talk about 2 of the books that I've been reading for this vlog, mostly because I haven't wrapped up any of the reading so far, and also because it does talk about colonization, which is essentially the theme of Thanksgiving. So I did finish This Is Kind of an Epic Love Story. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. It is a YA sort of romance story. It's kind of a stark opposite to Felix Ever After, where he is still looking for his identity, but I think that both stories worked really well because there were 2 different things kind of being explored. One is in Felix Ever After, we're exploring identity, and then This Is Kind of an Epic Love Story, it's just figuring out your feelings and how you handle relationships. As much as I did enjoy that aspect, there was just a lot of petty drama and other stuff I'm not really interested in when it comes to YA high school settings. And then also it was a romance, and I infamously don't really enjoy romances. Unfortunately didn't enjoy that one as much, but I think it still showcased Kacen Callender's voice really well. And that's kind of a good segue into the next book I read by them, which is Hurricane Child, which is their first middle grade novel. I think earlier I referenced this as their only middle grade novel, but I forgot that King and the Dragonflies is also a middle grade. But I read Hurricane Child and I really quite enjoyed this. It still had Kacen Callender's voice very strongly in it, but it was definitely more middle grade language. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. The story is centered around a young girl about a year after her mother has left her and her father. She wants her mom to come back, is essentially the gist of the story. And along the way, we get to see how she's bullied in school, how she goes about island life. So she actually lives on a different island from where she goes to school, and she transits via boat every single morning. And we also get to see her relationship with a new girl who finally becomes her first friend. I think that the only thing that fell short for me for this book was there were a lot of topics that went kind of unexplored. So the dad has some other things going on that the daughter knows about, but it kind of is just brushed over for the my mom is missing arc. And so I wish those were kind of explored more, but it didn't detract too much from the story. Again, I did really love this book and the main character and her relationships with the people, so I really do. After that, I picked up The Queen of the Conquered. It took me a few days to get through this. I will say that this is a little slow for maybe the first 100 pages, and then it really picks up after that. The plot of this book is that there's a Caribbean island adjacent sort of fictional island chain that was colonized by essentially what I'm guessing are white Europeans. And the white Europeans have become the ruling class, the natives have become the slaves. The twist is that there is a islander, the main character Sigourney Rose, who is actually part of the ruling class. So she is one of the families that is included in the ruling class. Her family was slaughtered when she was young, and she has spent her entire life essentially training and preparing to overthrow the white European ruling class. And it was just super interesting. I mean, the commentary was of course very strong. I really enjoyed Sigourney as a character because she poses a lot of issues when it comes to this sort of rebellion against the colonizers. If you've ever seen Captain America Civil War, you know that the villain put the pieces in place to make the Avengers fall apart. That's kind of similar to what happened in this. The ruling class essentially starts getting pitted against each other, and there's some sort of mini civil war between the ruling class, and Sigourney watches as this happens, and a bunch of people just start randomly dying, and people start pointing fingers at each other, and she's like, I have no idea what's going on. I didn't have any idea what was going on either. The ending took me completely by surprise. It really shouldn't have, but it did. And so I really enjoyed this book. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. Oh my god, I completely forgot to mention that there's a magic system in this. This is why it's fantasy, there's a magic system. So essentially there's something called the craft, and people who have the craft have special, essentially superpowers. So it can be anything from forcing someone to feel pain or healing someone. However, only the white European colonizers are allowed to have craft, and if you are an islander or a slave who has craft, then you are killed on the spot. What happened in the first book is that a lot of the islanders who do have craft essentially kept it a really good secret. They got organized and they started quietly assassinating a lot of the ruling class using their craft, and that's what was making everyone confused because they weren't sure how everyone was dying like this. It was because the islanders had been using hidden crafts in order to overthrow very slowly the ruling class. So at the very end, it's the final big coup, and we pick up right where we left off after that coup in the second book with King of the Rising, where Lauren is the coup leader. Okay, my camera is making the signal like it's about to die, so I'm going to wrap this up. I'm currently about a quarter of the way through it. I'm going to continue reading it, and I will update you guys when I finish that. I just finished King of the Rising, and I'm so excited to share my thoughts with you guys because it was definitely a 5 out of 5 star read. All of my discussion of the King of the Rising will assume that you have basic knowledge of the Queen of the Conquered, so technically there will be Queen of the Conquered spoilers. Essentially, King of the Rising follows Lauren, who was a side character in the first book, Queen of the Conquered, as he leads the rebellion against the white ruling class. So it kind of chronicles the aftermath of the rebellion. They were able to assassinate several members of the ruling class, and now they're kind of left trying to weed out the rest of the ruling class so that they can rule themselves. This posed a lot of issues, mostly because they spent a lot of time thinking about how to do the overthrowing rather than what they should do after they've overthrown the government. It's very chaotic, and it's a very difficult time for Lauren, the main character, who's been appointed as the leader, who really was a key part of the overthrow. The book kind of just chronicles him going through all of the struggles that one can go through after they have successfully led a rebellion. If you're a fan of the Poppy War series, I actually think you'll really enjoy the Islands of Blood and Storm series, which is the duology in which the Queen of the Conquered and the King of the Rising take place. It has similar, very graphic descriptions of war, and while I'm not saying that that's why I recommend it, it definitely shows you some really ugly sides of war that you probably don't think about when you're reading typical fantasy. It was very gory and bloody, so there are huge trigger warnings for death, violence, very graphic descriptions of a war scene. There's definitely a lot that goes on in the book. It was a very heartbreaking story, but a very good read nonetheless. I would be really interested to find out if Kacen Callender took inspiration from real life events. I highly recommend this duology for fans of the Poppy War or people trying to get into more adult fantasy. So I think that wraps it up. I have read all of Kacen Callender's books, which is really cool. I'm definitely a huge fan of their writing. I think they have such an amazing range. I mean, to be able to write a fantasy like Queen of the Conquered, also a beautiful story like Felix Ever After, I mean, that's a huge range, but they still do it so masterfully, and I am just totally amazed. I highly recommend. It was a fun experience. I'm glad I did it. And I hope that I convince someone else to pick up on Kacen Callender's works, because I really recommend their writing and I don't think you'll regret it. Sorry, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. Thank you guys so much for 100 subscribers. Like, I never thought that I would be able to achieve that. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who has subscribed. Any interaction that you've had with my channel, thank you guys so much. I have some content planned for December, but I have to warn you guys that I also have finals. I don't want to make too many promises, but I definitely will be making a book haul because my birthday is in a week. Stay tuned for that. Otherwise, that's it for now. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in and for 100 subscribers, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!